two writers, one just starting out, the other a bestseller. Join James Blatch and Mark Dawson and their amazing guests as they discuss how you can make a living telling stories. There's never been a better time to be a writer.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of the Self-Publishing Formula podcast with James and Mark. This is kind of old school for us, Mark, isn't it? We're looking at each other through computer screens. And we are... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, we're going back to how we used to do it because we're running around a little bit to try and get stuff ready for the SPF away 2.5 days in Salisbury on Wednesday, where we're going to be talking about self-publishing and setting some plans for the rest of the year. My wife also is kind of coming on board to help us, so we're going to have a getting to know you session, and then we've decided to be treat ourselves a little bit on Friday afternoon, and we're going to be racing Ferraris around a track in Wiltshire. So if there's no podcast next week, there's
a fire. Is that?
Yeah.
I can tell your manual dexterity already by the way you're knocking stuff around.
Yes.
Well, I think as long as we both give John Dyer a wide berth on the track, should be all right.
That won't be difficult.
No.
we'll just be much faster than him.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to that. They're Ferrari 458s. I mean, I'm not a massive car person. I've enjoyed the stuff I've done over time, but this is going to be a real treat, I think. And it's the new Ferrari. It's the brand new, really nice one. It's quite limited at the moment, so excited about that. And yeah, we're going to do some planning, as you say. Lucy Dawson coming on board, so we've got two Dawsons in SPF this week, and we will also get together and record a few more podcasts in a nicer environment than looking down the screen at each other. Although I have got my pink lights on, you can't really see them because it's daytime.
It looks like a tart's boudoir.
Yeah, it smells like one too, which is the funny thing. And I have a treat for you in terms of lighting. For Wednesday, so you might be excited about that.
Very good. I
shall leave that dangling there. Look, should we get on with this interview? Because it's an intriguing one. It is an intriguing one. And I don't think either of us know 100% what to make of it, but it's a really interesting one to listen to. He is an author called T.S. Paul. It's actually Scott Paul. And this interview came about when one of our SPFers, I have a feeling it was Kerry, dropped me an email a long time ago and said, there's a guy crushing it with short stories. She's younger than me, so she uses words like crushing it. And to that, I thought, well, that sounds interesting, short stories, because you do often hear people complaining that it's quite difficult to make money just from short stories if you're not using them perhaps as a lead magnet. Anyway, so we thought this guy was worth a listen to. He's been writing for about a year, and his figures are unbelievable. And what he does is, should we say eccentric at this stage? But let's have a listen to the interview, and then Mark and I have a chat off the back of it.
Well, I've been writing for a year. My 1-year anniversary was actually just 5 days ago. I kind of fell into it by accident. A fellow author gave me a little push, actually gave me a big push, and I put my first short book out on the 18th of February, 2016.
That's a long time ago, 19.
It is a long time ago, yeah. It's only a year, but not 19. But
not 19.
Put my first book out. It sold a few copies. He kind of was like, gave me another push and said, hey, write another one. So we put that one out, and then a week later, write another one. So within 3 weeks, I had 3 books out, 3 titles out. And they started to sell a little bit and make a little bit of money. So, I was kind of heartened by that. I mean, I once upon a time was a bookstore, like brick and mortar bookstore manager. And I know that new authors don't make any money, so I wasn't expecting anything. I didn't have any preconceived conceptions about what is going to happen as an ebook author, because I didn't know. So it was a heck of a surprise that when my first paycheck from Amazon, quote unquote paycheck, in February was $150, and I'm like, hey, that's cool. I can work with that.
Yeah.
And then March was like $2,500, and April was like $7,500, and I was like, whoa, that's kind of crazy. And then it just kept getting higher and higher and higher. And then in October, I switched genres and went from science fiction to paranormal, and it just leaped right off the page.
So how long are your books?
The first few like the first 4 are under 100 pages.
So how many words is that? I mean, that's...
We're talking, the first 2, the first 1 was right at about 17 or 18,000.
Okay.
Book 2 was around 20,000. Book 3, I think, was like 25 or 26, and then book 4 was up in the 30,000 range. So it went from 60 pages to like 100 pages.
That's because this is unusual, I think, in our sphere. You know, we talk to lots of authors, and I know there's no precise science on how long a book needs to be. And I think my book is in 7 parts for 7 days. And I think part 1, the first day, is at the moment 28,000 words, longer than any of your books.
I did crazy things. People told me I was insane because I put books out for 60 pages at $2.99 and made money. And people just told me I was crazy, that there was no way in hell that I was going to make any money that way. And I was having $5,000 and $6,000, $8,000, $9,000 months.
Wow.
With just $2.99 fiction. All my books, $2.99. I didn't change the price. I didn't do free promos. I didn't do 99-cent promos. I didn't do anything. I didn't advertise until my 4th month. All organic.
That was all word of mouth, people reading the book, and presumably Amazon picking up the fact. Were you in KU?
I'm in KU.
I'm
all in.
All in. Okay, so it's page reads. You're getting your money from.
Yeah, and sales.
And sales.
I've sold. Let me see. Maybe I just pulled up the figures here. Let's see. Let me look at last year because I'm in this year. Okay, so last year, according to this, book 1, which is The Forgotten Engineer. The Forgotten Engineer last year sold, as in sales copies, not KU, 4,263 copies.
Wow.
With 415,000 pages read. Remember, that's a 60-page book.
Wow. So organic. There were first 3 or 4 months you say were organic before you did any advertising.
Yes, and it was only Facebook.
And it was only
advertising.
Right. Okay. Organic Facebook or Facebook ads?
Facebook ads.
Facebook ads. Okay. When you did start advertising.
I started with Boost, and I did some goofy boosty stuff.
Yeah.
To get likes. The one that I tell people about is I posted a picture of our cat, because we have a very large orange tabby.
Well, that's what the internet's for, right?
Of course it is. People love cat pictures. Yeah. So I targeted it at people who like science fiction and also like cats.
Okay.
And then once I got a ton of likes, I used those same likes to send out pictures of the book, and picked up a few sales or whatever.
Okay.
So it was kind of sneaky. It was kind of a way to get likes on my page without getting likes on my page.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's. I'll tell you what's interesting about that, because people don't. We all get on our Facebook page. We'll get every day. I bet you ignore this post, and if you don't ignore, all the stuff they're kind of begging you to do something and pass it on. And actually, that's
clickbait.
And that's the tactic, really, isn't it? Because people can then use the likes and then start marketing towards you. But you've used it in a more honest way, because it was you, a little bit of fun from you, and it was your persona that then followed that up.
I don't have a mailing list.
Do you still not have a mailing list?
I do not have a mailing list.
Scott, basically you've broken every rule there is, and you're making 5 figures a month.
I am.
Wow.
I'm breaking it all. I still don't have a mailing list because my readers don't want that from me. I've only had one person that I'm aware of ask me if I had a mailing list. They use my blog, they use my Facebook page, and it's very active. I mean, they talk to me and they ask questions. And somebody asked me yesterday, because we'll get into this, my new tactic for writing a book, which is very strange.
Okay.
Somebody asked me yesterday, what do I do now? And I said, well, you could try reading these, and I posted a big list of books for other people. So they talk to me, and ask me questions and stuff. So it's kind of cool. So I have a very organic thing with my people. I've got over 2,000 likes that I'm aware of on my page, on my actual Facebook page. And then as for the blog, your guess is as good as mine. I get 2,000 hits a day.
Wow. Okay,
So
you
I have 62 followers on there, but I get like 2,000 hits a day. So not everybody's officially following me.
okay, so you're getting strong interest organically, and when you release a new book, you just simply post it on your social media channels.
Pretty much. I do run an ad occasionally, but not for the specific book because, I'll post the first book in my ads. I will boost it out to my people on Facebook. I'll do a quick three-day boost for $15. Doesn't cost me a whole lot, $5 a day, and just throw it out there. But I generally sell, with the science fiction series, I sell a guaranteed 500 books in 2 weeks. Guaranteed.
When you launch.
When I launch. For the paranormal, we're looking at probably 4,000 to 5,000 sales.
Okay.
Guaranteed.
And just from people looking for you, basically, and waiting for you to announce that on your channel. I mean, obviously social media has set itself up to make what you're doing much more difficult. So that makes it all the more impressive because they basically want your money and they want you to pay for advertising. So the old days of being able to reach easily are gone. So that's very, very impressive. And at the heart of this, Scott, must be your writing.
Well, people would say that I'm not I was not a trained writer. I was a crappy English major in both high school and in college. That was not my major. I didn't do well in English. Now, I'm a big reader. Until I started writing, I was reading 10 plus books a week, 40 to 50 books a month. So, I mean, I'm one of those people that was blowing KU's numbers out of the water because, with the KU, they expect you to read, 4 books a month, 5 books a month. I'm reading 50. So, I mean, they were probably real happy to see me not stop reading books.
Yeah.
I still have my KU subscription and I still read books, but I probably read maybe 3, and that's in a month. So it's not quite the same anymore. But I'm very well read.
Yeah.
So when it was suggested to me to write, and it was my author Michael Anderle who gave me the push, and we'd gotten to be friends, and he's like, you need to write a book, and you need to write a book, and he kept saying that for like 2 weeks, like, you need to write a book, and I'm like, oh, fine, I'll write a book. So the very first edition of The Forgotten Engineer was god-awful. I mean, I put it up online, and it was awful. The formatting was bad, the punctuation was bad, the grammar was bad, but I was still selling books. Right. And I was selling a lot of books for, people would say, why is this selling? So if you go back and you look at the reviews on the first book, and you go to the very beginning and you look at the original ones, they'll say awful things about me. And then there'll be people saying, 5 stars, great story. And then there'll be somebody who says, God, why did you put this up here? Are you 4? And then there'll be another review that says, hey, 5 stars, good story. And it's like, it's up and down and up and down and up and down. So after 6 months or 8 months, if you read my series, it's improved a lot. I mean, my writing has gotten way better. I've actually gone back and repaired the worst of the problems with the early books. The Forgotten Engineer that's out now, if you just now pick it up and not the old one, is 300% better. I actually had a friend look at it, and she thought it had more emotional effect on people than it did the original one did. She read the awful original one. But that's okay because I enjoyed writing it, and it had a good hook to it, and it was fun, and I didn't think it was going to be a series, so I didn't plan. I was on a 2-week writing schedule. Write a book, throw it out. Write a book, throw it out.
And the books you're reading full-length novels, or do you specifically read shorter stories?
I read everything.
Shorts? Okay.
I read it all.
Because I mean, what I'm curious about, and I'm struggling writing a book. I mean, it's hard writing a book, right? So I'm writing my first book, and my first chapter, I'm working closely with her chapter by chapter because it's my first book. Yes. I'm learning the craft. And I just expanded, as I said, it's not really a chapter as a part, but it's to 28,000 words. And she's still come back to me and said, I don't know the characters well enough. I don't care for them enough yet. So I'm thinking in a quite depressed way, I've got to go back and write even more, or possibly write better, might be the answer to it. And you've written a complete book that people care about, people follow the characters, people want to know more. All the things I'm trying to achieve in 100,000 words and struggling, you've done in 20,000 words.
Yes. So basically what I did was come up with a single character. Female character seems to work the best for science fiction. People yell at me. I don't really care. Female characters, because I'm a fan of people like David Weber and Ringo and those kind of people. And female characters seems to jive with people, especially when you're writing military fiction. So I picked a female character. I kind of knew what I wanted to write. I knew she was a young, because that's what I like to read. Is I like to read like the academy stories and the cadet stories and that kind of stuff. So I picked made her an ensign, made her on her first mission. She's in the engine room and there's an attack, and the head engineer looks and he sees her and he's like, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "Because you told me to be here." And he's like, "No, there's an attack going on. You need to be at your station." And she's like, "I don't know where my station is. I've only been on this ship a month." So it's that kind of thing. So, she gets knocked out. She wakes up. The battle's over. She's the only one left alive. And she's in the middle of nowhere with nobody around her. So, I mean, that's kind of the hook.
Okay, that's a good hook, yeah.
It's a very good hook. And a lot of people complain that there's not enough meat to the story. But the thing is, I wasn't setting out to write meat. I was setting out to write something short that was kind of fun.
For every person who's complaining about this, there's another 200 who are buying the book. So, I mean,
of course there is. And what happened with Fun is that I decided, after I got to about book 6, I decided I wasn't going to make them more than 180 pages. So I keep the length of the Athenas at about 5,500 words. Sorry, 55,000 words. Not 55,000 words. 55,000 words, which is about 180 pages.
Okay.
So the way I write, that's that kind of what it averages out to be. So, and I don't make anything longer in sci-fi more than 55,000 words.
Yeah, I mean, that's getting to novella length, isn't it? I guess.
I don't know. I really don't care.
But in science, I mean, there is a great tradition of science fiction short stories. Of course, I mean, I grew up on Isaac Asimov and loved them. But also, science fiction is quite famous for having long books because,
of course, they are. And the I don't. I like to get it out. I like to, it's people would say, that's terrible and you should write it longer and stuff like that. But, I'd rather get paid now, not 6 years from now. So it would take me forever to write something that long, and I don't want to do it. Not for the sci-fi series. I like them short, to the point, less Robert Jordan-y. I don't like it, to have all the details. Let your mind kind of tell you what the engine room looks like. You don't need to know that there's grease on the engineer's tools and that that kind of stuff. It's details that are not necessary for my series. Straight to the point. Less extravagance. Let's get to the point and see what's going on and watch the adventure. So the first few books were kind of like that, and I kind of worked my way through the series and built my character. But see, I'm a pantser, so kind of a hybrid pantser. So I know how I'm going to start the book, I know how I'm going to end the book, and I know who the characters are, but I don't know anything else in the middle. Okay. So I'll get halfway through and start giggling because I'm like, let's do this instead of that and do something fun. And so now the book's made it all the way to book 10, but see, then I did a spin-off series, which I'm working on now as the second book. And then I have 2 short story collections, and then there's the short stories. Because I decided early on to write a short story a week and post it for free on my blog. So I've written over 50 short stories, short, like less than between 1,000 and 3,000 word short stories.
Okay.
Plus the books.
So you're doing that, and you're giving those away for free, but you'll bundle those presumably onto KU or something, or?
Yes, once I get like a dozen, I'll pull them off the blog, delete them off the blog completely, put them in a bundle, write an anchor story. So I'd write something longer, like a 5,000 or 6,000 word anchor story that nobody's seen ever, didn't post anything about it, and throw it up there with the others in the book.
Okay, how many books have you written now?
Well, we have 25 last year, and then this year, once a couple more come out, it'll be like 28. I've got two short story.
So,
Call it 25 that are mine.
yeah. Okay.
26 if you count the one that I co-wrote without Michael Anderle, but I wrote probably 80% of that. So
Okay.
90% of that.
And that's year one
That's year one.
in your author career. You're going to have 100 books out within 4 or 5 years.
Works for me.
Yeah, well, it obviously does work for you, and that's what's fascinating about this, Scott. So congratulations on a stellar launch into this world.
See, that's just science fiction. I
because
jumped
paranormal,
Paranormal's longer. Those are longer. Those between 275 and 375 pages.
Okay. So they're getting up to more traditional length, but that's fascinating and really interesting. I mean, it's got my mind turning over as well. Like I say, I went back to those days as a teenager reading the short stories, which I loved. And there was a guy called Jeffrey Archer, funnily enough, quite a controversial figure in the UK, sort of politician, but he specialised in short stories. And I can remember almost every word of those. You can have an impact with a short story that I think you cannot have with a novel, and vice versa, of course. But.
Well, look at Ellery Queen, or if you get into the mysteries, look at Ellery Queen. Or some of those, or even look at what people consider the great fiction of the 20th century. I mean, Breakfast at Tiffany's or The Old Man and the Sea. Those are like short. If you look at the word length on those, they're less than 30,000 words.
Yeah, Catcher in the Rye, I think.
People get all excited and they're like, "Oh, you can't write that." I mean, that's awful. Those are so short. You can't get those offline. It's like, take those other ones off too.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're going to complain about mine, complain about those. I mean, it's. I really don't define what books are. People get all upset with me and they're like, "Oh, you're not even writing a novelette or something like that." And it's
Who
like,
cares?
I don't want to call it that.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't care. People read what they want to read.
I love the fact that you don't care about convention, and exactly right. In this modern era, the technology enables people to read what they want to read. And do you know what? Do you know who decides whether you've written a book or not? It's that bottom line. People buying it and reading it.
I've seen 15-page books on Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You're going to give me a hard time. Give them a hard time, too.
Well, that's great. So tell me about the when you did start advertising. You built up this kind of organic reach, and you've obviously got a fan base and people know where to find you.
I did. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you about when you then started to run paid ads, when you went beyond boosting.
Well, I didn't have any money. I mean, when I did this, I was unemployed. My wife made just enough money to cover all of our expenses and not have anything left over. So, I mean, we were living on the edge. And I had to borrow $50 from her so I could run my first ad. And so I did a Facebook ad, and it was a boost, and it wasn't that exciting. So then I kind of fine-tuned it a little bit and stared at it for a while and messed around with it and just did the simple boost, like I said, with the thing with the cat, and then a few others just out to my fans and out to my readers. I did try a giveaway, which didn't work at that time. And then I did do, everyone's like, "Oh, do a BK Nights, do a BK Nights." Well, the thing is, see, I don't discount my books. So I did pay them the $10 or whatever it was to do that, but I didn't get very much from it because I don't discount my books to free, and I don't believe in free. Now, people would say, what the hell? And I have done one free promo, and that was only because someone asked. Is that I was asked to put it in something, and it wasn't even one of my regular books. It was one of my paranormal, and it was my very first prequel. And I threw it up in there and actually gave away 3 times what I was supposed to give away, so it was kind of funny. Because I said, "What's the most they give away?" And said, people get about 2,000 books. I'm like, "Great!" And I did 6,500. I was like, "Holy crap!" All I could think about was losing the money. I really couldn't think about the other part.
But that doesn't surprise me. I think the giveaway does, unquestionably, and we follow this closely, it does work for lots and lots of people. But it does not surprise me at all because you've done everything upside down and everything has worked brilliantly for you. It doesn't surprise me at all that some of the conventional things for you are not working in that area. But that's really exciting for people to hear about the way you've worked. And I come back to the fact that your writing must be very, very good and gripping and compelling, and that is what's bringing people back to you. Ultimately,
people like it. Yeah. People like it, and I've seen a huge upswing once the paranormal came out, and that was funny. There's a funny story for you. Is that I was planning. My wife just does not read sci-fi. So she wanted to read paranormal. She wanted me to write a paranormal. So I actually spent money and ordered the covers and had them, in process. And
before you'd written the books?
Before I've read the books. I had no book. I didn't even have titles. Or plots. I had a character name. I didn't have anything. No plots, no characters, no nothing. So I ordered the books. I ordered the covers.
Did you do anything in a remotely normal way?
No.
No, okay. Let's just get that out there, just so we know.
No. So I was going to release the first book. Remember, see, I can knock out a book a month. So I was going to do the very first book in September. I was going to write it and release it like first week, second week of October, so I can get attention with the Halloween release. My wife wanted a Halloween release. So I planned it's the Witch series, the Federal Witch series. So this was in August, late August. So I'm driving my wife to work, and I drop her off, and I'm on my way home, and I'm thinking, you know what? Let's write a prequel just for the hell of it, just to see if people of my readers would follow me to paranormal. So in the space of 24 hours, I wrote a 10,000-word prequel in 3 chapters, and I dropped each chapter to my editors, and they real quick gave it back to me, and I bought a cover online. I went online, I bought something off the shelf, because I didn't have a prequel. I didn't plan to write a prequel, so I didn't have a cover ready. And I didn't want to use a face, because I had a face already picked out. So I bought an off-the-shelf cover, threw it up on Amazon, and it took off like a rocket. I sold, then this was like September. So in the space, that book, I gave away 6,500 of that mid-year in October, because it had been out a month. Erica Conroy over at Self-Publishing Roundtable asked me if I would like to put my book in their thing, and I'm like, fine, whatever, we can do that, because at that point it had already sold 7,000 copies at 99 cents.
Okay.
So I was like, sure, why not? And I'm like, how many copies can you give away? She goes, you'll give away about 2,000. Well, I gave away 6,500, so I was kind of freaking out. But then I've sold. So then when it came off the promo, I put it back at 99 cents and sold another 4,000. So that book alone's done like 15,000
when you do this,
last year.
You took part in those giveaways. You're not getting the email addresses back because you don't have a list.
She gave me the emails, but I didn't want them. I didn't even open the email.
Well, which is why the giveaway doesn't really work for you if you're not doing that conventional system. So yeah. No, I don't. And I did it for fun. I just did it for exposure. I didn't do it for anything else. Yeah.
And to be truthful, I only heard back from like 2 people that got it for free and got addicted to the series. If there's more, I don't know.
Okay.
But I did it for fun. But the prequel was kind of fun. So because it did so well, all of a sudden, it's selling like 4,000 copies in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, holy crap. So I was in the middle of writing the new Athena book, which was book 10. So I dropped it. I said I clicked and turned it off and opened up Scrivener and started writing the new first witch book, which I wasn't going to write for a month. And knocked it out really quick. The first cover was ready, slapped it on there, put a title on it, and sent it up, and it took off like a rocket. Right. And that was October. And then I just worked on the next one and got it out in November.
And you say your wife read paranormal. Did you read paranormal?
Oh, yeah, I read paranormal.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a big paranormal guy.
Yeah, so you're very familiar with the genre.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And I created a world off the cuff. Remember, I didn't have anything in August. I didn't have anything. Yeah. I had a title. I knew what the titles were going to be. My titles reflect the plot. So all of my titles. So any title on my book, if I put a title on there, it reflects how the story is going to be or the plot. Just something I do. So if I have a title, I kind of know what I want to do, sort of, kind of.
Can you give me an example?
And I knew Conjuring Quantico was all about a young witch going to the FBI, and the FBI is in Quantico, Virginia. Yeah. The Forgotten Engineer, of course, she was forgotten. Engineering Murder, which is book 2 of that series. She's an engineer. She's targeted. Somebody's trying to kill her.
And is Athena the character name? That's
Athena Lee is the character for the Athena Lee science fiction series. Agatha Blackmore is the name of the character for the fantasy series. I do not recommend using double A names, and I didn't realize I did it until I wrote the first book, and I'm like, crap, because it's one of the reasons I can't write 2 books at once, because I get them confused. I have written Agatha when I meant to write Athena, and vice versa. So I don't recommend doing that, but it happened by accident. So but yes, so all of my titles reflect each other. Like there's a short story collection that's about Wilson. He's the sidekick character for the science fiction series. His book is called Wilson's War, and there is a story in there that does reflect Wilson's War, talking about him in battle. So like I said, all my titles reflect the plot. So if I put a title out there, I kind of know what the plot's going to be. Yeah, it gives maybe a hint, because most of the time I don't have no clue.
So it's your starting point.
Well, it is. I've ordered. I actually ordered more covers for the Federal Witch series. I have covers up to book 8. So, and I have like 2-line plot references, so I kind of know what I'm going, but I don't have any idea what I'm going to write yet.
Okay, so
and I'm only on book 3.
Okay,
so
but and you're writing on Scrivener, you say?
Yes.
And you write at home, and do you have a particular routine for writing, or?
I write in the morning. I write in the evening. I write in the afternoon if nobody's around. But yeah,
standing desk.
No, really. I'll put
sitting
headphones
down?
on. Yeah, I've got a fancy desk. I put my now. Before I used to just I wrote the first 8 books sitting in the living room chair on a tray table.
Okay.
With my computer in front of me. Now I have a real, actual physical desk. But before I just didn't have anything.
Okay.
And so I've got my own little office now. It's nice and quiet. Nobody's in here except for the cat. And but yeah. So it's been a real challenge. I mean, I had never written before. I was suddenly thrust into this, and then all of a sudden people are like, "Hey, when's the next book?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
So
I better write that. And what do you mind me asking? I said you gave us some figures earlier of how much you're doing month on month, and is that settled down to kind of? I mean, I'm assuming a very healthy income.
Okay, so in October, when I was making about $9,000 a month in August, September ish. So that's kind of what I was expecting for the rest of the year. The Conjuring Chronicle took off like a rocket and made $26,000 all by itself.
Nice.
So I did $39,000 in October.
Wow.
That's just straight up by itself, and then each month was somewhat the same.
Really?
Since then. Yes.
Wow. So you are approaching kind of $500,000 a year. I mean, 12 times
this
39.
Year, probably.
Yeah. And you're not spending a lot on advertising.
I spent $10,000 on Facebook advertisements last year.
Okay. I mean, some people do that in a month.
Well, yeah, I don't do that
in a week. In a week, sometimes it was a big week.
I'm doing about 1,000 a week. I was just looking at those numbers actually just before you clicked on. I was messing around with Facebook ads, and that's about what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible, and I'm so happy for you. You seem like you found something that's really changed your life, and you're enjoying it. Why wouldn't you enjoy that?
So far. I mean, so far, I mean, it has been a real challenge. I mean, some of the things that I've done do seem a little strange sometimes, but I get really good response from it, and I still do off the cuff kind of crazy things, and it seems to work. I mean, for me, I don't know if it's necessarily going to work for somebody else, because I don't do promos. I mean, I've done a couple. I mean, I was on Book Barbarian, and that's about it. The only one I've ever really tried.
You haven't done
turned down a whole bunch of times for book pubs. I won't do free.
Yeah, you won't do free, and you don't discount. So,
well, I've done 99 cents a couple of times. Okay, I did it for Book Barbarian, but that was just book 1. It was just Forgotten Engineer, and to be truthful, I did it 3 weeks before I made it 99 cents permanently, because I did drop the price to 99 cents along with book 2, but everything else is still $2.99, and I still make money off of it every day.
Yeah,
so,
and isn't it? I guess you're not looking around, scratching your head, wondering why it's not working. Which is when people do try and they move into things like the list. I mean, you are well set up to do a freebie at the beginning of both your series and run Facebook ads and build a list and market to your list. But then you're thinking, why should I? Because I'm making 39,000 a month.
I was seriously thinking about making the Forgotten Engineer free, and I was talking about it, and I kicked around. My wife is like against it completely, and she's like, "Why would you do that?" And I talked to a couple of authors, and they were like, you're kind of like going to screw yourself on that because you said so emphatically last year that you wouldn't do free, and all of a sudden you're doing free. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. So I didn't do it. But I still sell, because I just had the 1-year anniversary of The Forgotten Engineer. It's been out a year. So I gave away 50 copies. I bought them myself and did a giveaway on Amazon and gave away 50 copies. And they snapped up. They were gone in a day. I mean, that's quick. So I still sell between 30 and 50 every single day of the first book.
Wow.
Now, my sell-through rate, book 2, they sell about 20. Book 3, I'm down to about 10. But then after book 4, I'm still getting 10, 12, 14 people every single day from book 4 to book 10. So the way I figured it with the 50 free copies is that if 3 people read the whole series, that paid for it.
Yeah. And who's your audience? Do you know?
Primarily women.
Yeah.
And I know that from doing the giveaways by looking at and also who's responding to the ads on Facebook. I mean, there are a lot of men too, but it's primarily women.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me in terms of those numbers because women buy more books and read more books.
Then after book 4, I was trying to come up with different things to write about or in my series because I wasn't expecting to be writing 4 books in that series, and I put a LGBT hook to it. Gave my main character a girlfriend, but see, I don't write. There's no bad language in my books. There's no sex in my books. They're pretty much teen friendly. So I mean, there's a relationship there, but it's just girlfriend. They're not,
Was that the first sort of
seeing the sex stuff?
No, was that the first hint at romance, or was there romance in the series as well?
That was in book 3.
Okay.
No, sorry, yeah, book 3. I kind of had a little tease to it, and then book 4, which is called Revolutionary, which is actually. It's more like 4 different revolutionary things. It's her with a girlfriend. It's her going home for the first time and confronting her father and talking back to her father. She has an invention that she's trying to push in the military, and then there's a literal revolution on the planet. So I mean, it's kind of a 4-stage kind of deal. And that book is still selling high, and that's a good one. But like I said, the girlfriend thing has gone through now to book 10, and nobody seems to care.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't, nobody cares. It's just a character thing, and people love the book and they still read it.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's no bad language in it. It does. I'm in the teen of teens basically for ranking. I think I'm like number 14 right now, or 15 or something for teens, because of the Athena Lee series. So
strong female lead. Well, that's a great thing as well for young women to be reading and enjoying. And
they're short.
And they're short. They're short. We come back to that. And are you in print as well? Do you use CreateSpace or anything like that? Or?
I did 1 book in print, and that was in the middle of the series. The only reason I did it in print, it was the first book that was more than 150 pages, and I did it for Christmas. And to be truthful, I think I've only sold like 1.
Okay.
I bought 5, and of those 5, I gave away 2. So I don't know. I think my 5 are the only 5 in existence. I really don't care. I do intend to make the Federal Witch series in print, but the sci-fi ones, some of them are just too short. They're almost comic book length, and I don't know that needs to be printed. I think it'll cost me more money to print them than it would be to.
Yeah, well, of course, Amazon are introducing. In fact, they've just announced in the last couple of days a print service. It will be print on demand and just a slightly different set of fees. But yeah, it'd be interesting. They're trying to make it as easy as possible for your print just to sit alongside your Kindle version if people want it. It gets printed by the robots when they order it. So.
I do intend audio for them.
Okay, yeah.
My audio publisher wants them, And I don't care. I told her, go ahead, but it's gonna be a little bit because they're working on the paranormal first.
Have you been approached by any publishers, traditional publishers?
I've been approached by 4 audio publishers.
Okay.
All of them came after me, going, "Has this book? Do you need?" I'm like, I've already signed with somebody. I signed with somebody for 20% cut. Everybody else has offered me 7 or less.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's incredible. It's an incredible story, Scott. I'm so pleased that you've come on. I think it's convention busting. But do you know what? We're in a pioneering industry. We're in a period of transformation, and nobody really knows what the rules are. And it may take another 50 years before anyone even starts to work out there are rules.
I don't believe in reviews.
No? Oh, really?
I don't believe in reviews. I don't think they matter. So I don't actively pursue them. I don't do anything to actively pursue them. And any reviews that I've gotten were either people who feel like they want to troll me or organic. I don't do anything to get reviews. Nothing. I don't care.
But you have a gift for writing, and it's your writing that speaks for itself. And I guess some people won't respond to that, but
people will read it, or they won't read it, or they can hate me, or they won't hate me, or whatever. And I get a lot of that too. My favorite is, yes, there's typos. Everyone has typos, but I have a preponderance of them. The newer books are fine, but I get a preponderance of them. And I've had people who would. I had one gentleman. He ripped my books off of Amazon and re-edited them himself, and then emailed them back to me with a note. Please use these. Just put my name in the front as an editor. And I'm like, no. So I get a lot of emails like that, which I think is funny. I save them. But beyond that, it's this is my theory on the typos, and people can yell at me or not. I really don't care. My theory on the typos, and the reason why I sell so well with books that are filled with typos, and people will freak out. They're like, you sell books that aren't perfect. The way people read today, they are so used to having some sort of device in their hand, like a phone or a tablet or whatever, and they've been texting for so much that their eyes go right across it, and they don't even see the typo.
Yeah.
It's only people who are like English majors or spell check Nazis that go crazy over that stuff. Or their authors.
And we know, don't we, from those sentences where they leave out the vowels, that your brain fills in everything anyway, which is what's happening there.
Of course it does. So most people don't even see it. I mean, the readers, you'll get a few that'll complain about, oh, it's filled with typos, and don't read this, it's awful. And then you'll get the next person says, this is a wonderful series. And I laugh, and I think it's funny. That's why I don't believe in reviews. But people don't even see it. The younger people 20-somethings and teen-somethings, they don't even see it because they've been texting for so long.
Yeah.
And
do you think that's partly also responsible for why your shorter books and short stories have done well? Because there is an attention span that's changed from our parents' generation?
Well, not so much the attention span, but the fact that what they're reading it on. Our parents would read, a physical book. Or if you're talking to someone my age, maybe you're reading it on your tablet. I don't read books on it too much anymore, but I have a tablet. But most people are reading books on their phone. So if you're reading it on your phone, do you want to read a 700-page book, or do you want to read a 50-page book on your phone?
Yeah.
Because maybe you're standing in line at the bank, or you're on your 30-minute break from school, or you're between classes, or you're hopefully at a red light in traffic. But I have seen that. Yeah. So, but people want to read. They want something quick they can read on their phone, and my books work great for that.
Scott,
so go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's been awesome talking to you. We've clocked up 3/4 of an hour very quickly. It's gripping story. You've defied pretty much everything. There's bits my mind is swimming with some of the things you've said in this interview, and I'm going to chat to Mark in a minute about this. Some of the things that you've done that are just totally out there, and the opposite in terms of many ways, other people are approaching their indie careers, and yet you are killing it.
You could say I'm insane. People tell me all the time, "You're out of your mind," but it works. So
You're out of your...
if it's crazy and it works, it's not crazy.
It's not crazy. You're out of your mind. You're out of mind with a bank balance going like this that shows that there's some sanity there. So that's
the IRS
great.
is going to get me good this year, though.
Yeah, he was. That's going to be painful. But that's
one of the reasons I moved to Florida.
Oh, is it lower tax?
Florida doesn't have state income tax.
Oh, okay.
So the state can't get me here, but the state is going to get me in Missouri for last year.
Okay. Well, don't move to France. They've got a wealth tax on at the moment. So yeah.
No, that's not going to happen. Johnny Depp doesn't need to be my neighbor. That's okay.
No. We'd love to keep in touch with you, Scott. So we'll follow your career if you don't mind, and I'll be knocking on your door in 6 months or 6 to 12 months again, and we'll catch up with you if that's okay to see where you are.
Works for me.
In the meantime, I can't wait to see you continuing with your success, because that's great. So, Mark, T.S. Paul crushing it by doing almost everything in Bizarro land the opposite way that most people in indie publishing who are doing well do it.
Yeah, that's pretty much just the scale of it. And I hadn't heard of Scott before you spoke to him. Obviously, I've listened to the interview now, and I've done a little bit of digging around. And his rank is where I expect it to be for someone who's selling at that kind of good level. He is clearly doing really well. And it's something that we'll be able to kind of dig into a little bit more next week when we have the interview with Michael Anderley, who is someone that I have heard of, and as Scott mentioned him in the interview earlier. So yeah, but it's legit. He's doing almost everything that I would say not to do, and is doing really well. So on the one hand, I'm very pleased for him. He sounds like a really good guy. Is doing really, really well. On the other hand, my view is that I think he's probably... Lucky is not the right word. I think he's probably making his own luck to an extent. He's obviously a hard worker, puts in loads of hours writing content that readers love. That's always going to be the most important thing. But my key pieces of advice I think still stand. You've got to treat your product professionally, and that means that you can't, from my perspective, you can't afford to have typos and kind of amateurish errors, because that will turn off some readers, and you need to have a mailing list. I think that's still fundamentally important, and 99.9% of indie authors will do that, especially when they listen to people like me waffle on about how useful they are. So Scott's doing this all arse about face, as we'd say down here in Salisbury, but doing really well. So I think the takeaway is that there are other ways to do things. I would say you can maximize your odds by following a pattern that's followed by most successful indie authors, but that doesn't mean that that's the only way. There are other ways that you can also do really well.
Yeah, I suppose a couple of things that struck me. One is that he is a volume writer, and that's always going to make up for some inadequacies in other areas of your marketing if you've simply got something else to go to for readers. Very, very important. And the one thing that lots of us struggle with in terms of volume. And the other thing I'd say is that I did read his first book in the series, and it is... it does have typos in it. It's not the best formatted book I've ever seen on an e-reader. And there's an aspect of the way the book is written that's a little bit, I'll say, eccentric again. And I think Scott would admit that. He kind of said that. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's actually quite a nice scenario. It's quite difficult. It's quite a tough write for him in some ways. He set himself up with this scenario where there's a single character on her own for many years, and that's the main bulk of the book. That's quite a difficult book to read if you think about it. And I enjoyed it, and there was something about it. And do you know what? Ultimately, that's kind of it for readers. If you've hit something that you've got lots of volume of and people like reading it, you probably could bumble your way through the rest of it.
Yeah, story is the most important thing, and this is something that will come out in next week's interview with Michael. It is about getting something that readers continue to flick the pages, and then once they finish that book, is to get into the next thing and read that too. That is fundamentally important. If you don't write those kinds of compelling stories, it doesn't really matter how polished your work is, because no one will read the next book because they didn't enjoy it. But my kind of counter to that would be that you will lose some readers by having typos and by not formatting properly. And I looked at the look inside, and I would never have got any further than that, because it's just, the formatting is crazy. And I don't know, sometimes Amazon screws that up, so it's possible that something funny has happened in the translation from the mobile file to the look inside sample. But it was all kind of centrally aligned. It's very strange, and that for me would be the reason I wouldn't download it, just because I'm a bit anal when it comes to that kind of thing. But obviously, thousands of readers don't have my hang-ups, and are buying his books, loving his books, leaving great reviews, buying the next book, all the things that you need to develop a successful career, like he very clearly has developed. So kudos, my hat's off to him.
Yeah, so a great interview, really interesting, but a kind of don't try this at home, kids, that we say at the end, or make of it what you will. I think it's going to be a bit of a talking point anyway. Okay, let's put out a couple of things. We've been busy in the background over recent weeks. You've put together a really good book on the undoubted hot topic of the moment, Mark, AMS ads.
Yeah, so it's a short book. It's about 5,000 words. And it was written primarily by a guy called Joseph Alexander, who we've had on the podcast before. He's sold over £1 million worth of guitar tutorial books. He's a real success story. He's starting to speak at Amazon panels with me now, which is lovely. And he's one of the most important parts of his marketing arsenal is Amazon ads. So he was the first person I thought of to go to say, would you like to write a book with me on that? So Joseph and I put that together. It's been edited. We've got a Stuart Bache cover on it, and it's available for people to download. It's free, and I've also shot a kind of a half an hour video masterclass where we go through some of the things in the book, and I demonstrate with a screen flow how exactly to do it, how to find keywords, those kinds of things that you'll need to be able to get your head around if you want to start running these ads, which are, as you say, a real talking point, because they're potentially super powerful because they appear on your retail platform rather than on another platform that you've then got to send traffic to Amazon. So we've got that. It's available. I will relay the URL, which is selfpublishingformula.com/Amazon ads, all one word, Amazon ADS, all one word. And you can sign up there. The book will be sent back to you with details of how to get the video masterclass as well.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, and if you want to go back to last week's episode, the competition that we talked about with Dave Chesson is still open. You've got a few more weeks to enter that. We're going to pull out the winners at the end of May, and that's to win a license to his software, KDP Rocket, the book idea validation. We should say we subconsciously, and it was completely subconsciously, came up with a tagline for that podcast episode kind of at the last minute as we put out the thumbnail on the front of it, called Will It Fly, which we thought was a great word and title, and sort of maybe rang a vague bell, and then suddenly realised that it's what Pat Flynn calls his book, and it was absolutely a no-brainer for us. We've changed that, and Pat was so nice about it, as he always is, but that was inadvertent, and we should say that interview was about Dave Chesson. We came up with Will It Fly, not Dave. I know a couple of people emailed us saying, is Dave doing what Pat's Flynn doing? But that was us. We came up with Will It Fly. It's not mentioned in the interview in any way, shape or form. It was simply on the front page, but we've changed that, haven't we, Mark?
We have, yes. I got a lovely email from Pat whilst I was in Toys R Us with my daughter yesterday. So we moved quickly and got that changed in about half an hour.
Yeah,
that's how we roll in SPF land.
Yeah, it is, and that is one of the things we've talked about, IP and rights and so on in the past, and it's a subject we'll come back to in the future. But it's something as writers we all have to be aware of, just to second think things. We do produce a lot, though. We produce a lot of volume in the SPF, so sometimes that sort of thing is going to happen. But it wasn't, as they say at Sky News, not wrong for long.
Very good.
So that's the way to do it. Finally, let me just mention The Vault, which is a fantastic ebook we've put together. This is not a 5,000 word ebook. Have you counted the words in that Vault book?
Oh, hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, it's a big book. Too big, actually, file size for its Mobi at one point, I noticed. Anyway, you can get that. It goes back over all our podcasts. It's indexed so that you can search on specific topics. It's a really useful thing to have, and you can pick that up simply by going to selfpublishingformula.com/vault, VAULT. And
you could if you wanted, you could search it for every time we take the mick out of John Dyer.
yeah, just search. Someone will create a Pinterest thing or Tumblr. Is Tumblr still going?
I don't know, James. You need to get with it.
Yeah,
you're not with it. You're not with the kids.
That was a long time ago, Tumblr. Okay, look, I need to go and prepare because I've got my driving lessons just to get myself race fit for next week. What are you doing this afternoon?
I'm writing.
You're writing.
I'm deep in writing mode.
I thought you wrote in the mornings.
I do, but I'm writing in the afternoon as well today, trying to get a few thousand words in because I've got a short week. Because we will be SPFing from Wednesday onwards.
I love your discipline. Good. Thank you very much indeed, Mark. It's not been a fantastic line, I should say, between us audio-wise, but it hasn't been too bad, just the old pop and crackle. But next week we'll be in the same room together, and we've got some natty new little screens to make the sound even better, haven't we? Have they arrived?
They have. They're in my study.
Excellent. Don't forget them.
No, I won't.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll speak to you next Friday.
You've been listening to the Self-Publishing Formula podcast. Visit us at selfpublishingformula.com for more information, show notes, and links on today's topics. You can also sign up for our free video series on using Facebook ads to grow your mailing list. If you've enjoyed the show, please consider leaving us a review on iTunes. We'll see you next time.